So regarding the cost of everything, so my rent is 60,000 yen a month, and that is around 450 pounds, around 550, $600. So it's quite a bit cheaper than what I would pay for an equivalent house back in the UK. I think I'd probably pay something more like 600 more to have something similar. My utilities are also quite a bit cheaper than what they would be on average back in the UK. When it's not summer, so I'm not using the aircon all the time, then my electricity bill is maybe 5,000 to 8,000 yen a month, so between 30 to 50 pounds. I don't actually have any gas bill here. Originally this house used LP gas outside, so that means that people from the city used to come and deliver canisters of gas whenever it was getting low. When they refurbished some of the house, they put in a special water heater that only runs on electricity. So when you saw the kitchen, we didn't have like a gas stove, which is pretty much what you standard see in Japanese houses. And we have an IH induction hob instead. It does mean that we get slightly cheaper electricity in comparison to the old apartment that I used to live in, which did use gas. But overall, it is a lot cheaper. There is one extra thing we have to pay for, which not everyone has to pay for in Japan. Because this house is about 50 years old, which is kind of old for a Japanese house. Because it's older, it's not attached to the city plumbing system, and we use a septic tank. So we have to pay for any maintenance and cleaning on that, which is around 2,000 yen a month. So it's not too bad, really. Okay, so drawbacks and positives of having a more traditional Japanese house. Positive, we get the bigger amount of space than what we would in an apartment, just by buying something a little bit older. Modern houses, if you do find them for rent, which isn't very common outside of like army bases, then they're very, very expensive, way over like 100,000. So this is a lot cheaper, but we get a lot of space. I think this is maybe 160, 170 square meters, whereas my previous apartment that I stayed in was only 40 square meters. So it makes a really big difference, and there's not that much difference in price if you do go for a slightly older building. What other drawbacks are there? Tatami. So originally when I was looking for a house, I tried to find some without any tatami, but because we needed a house that would allow us to have our pets, which you have obviously seen walking around in the video, it had to be an older property, and most of them do have some tatami still installed. I didn't really want tatami because it is more hassle to care for. You can't get it wet and it must be kept dry, which can be difficult given how humid the summers are here. But we kind of had to go with it, and it's not too bad when you get used to caring for it. You just have to be a little bit more gentle than what you would be on a normal wooden floor. Another advantage we have is our location. So we live on the outskirts of one of the biggest cities in Nara, so not Nara City. So that means that we're on one side of the house, it's basically completely rural. It's farms and very old houses, forests. But on the other side, we have a lot of suburban housing. They're building a new housing estate literally next to our house. And we're within a couple of minutes walk of stations, lots of different restaurants, different amenities. So it's really convenient. We can still get a direct train to either Osaka or Kyoto, and there's regular trains, so it's not difficult to get around from somewhere like this. So it definitely pays off having a slightly older house. Another drawback that we have is heating and cooling in summer and winter. So older Japanese houses and even a lot of newer houses don't have a lot of insulation, if any at all. And the houses are made of wood, not brick or concrete like a lot of Western houses. So when it's really hot and humid in the summer, you have to run your AC a lot more than what you would in a Western country, because as soon as you turn it off, there's no insulation to keep the cooler in, and it all just disappears, and within 2 minutes the room is super hot and unbearable again. The same same thing happens in winter. When it's really cold, there's nothing to keep the cold air from coming in, so you either have to run air conditioners, which can be very expensive, or what we try to do more often to be a little bit more thrifty, we use our kotatsu. So we have the table that you saw in our living room. We just put a blanket under it and you plug it into the mains and it becomes a heater. So it's really cozy and really nice during winter. So there's both positives and negatives with that one. It's still kind of expensive, so it brings up our average bill from 5,000 to 8,000 up to maybe 12,000, 15,000. So it can nearly double during the summer and winter months, just trying to keep it warm or keep it cold. So I'd say if you don't speak a really good level of Japanese, it might be very difficult to get a house as a foreigner in Japan, especially if you're living outside of Tokyo, or maybe Osaka too. But I was lucky that my colleagues at work helped me. They helped me with looking for the house, speaking to the estate agents, understanding what all the contracts were, and they even helped me with moving in. They all got their cars and put all my furniture in and helped me move all my stuff here from my tiny little box apartment from when I first moved here. If you don't have someone to do that for you, it will be a lot more difficult. For me, I have heard the horror experiences that some people have as foreigners trying to get accommodation, different places not wanting to rent to you because you aren't Japanese, or making you pay extra key money, gift money, or pay extra deposits, or being really harsh with rules. But that's not something we've experienced here, but of course the situation may be different for everybody there. But I'd say if you have help, it's easy, it's understandable, but there's a lot of hurdles which you wouldn't have trying to rent an apartment in the UK. It's especially with the key money, which can be very expensive. So with this house we had to pay some key money, which was about 1 month's rent, but depending on your location you may have to pay up to 6 months rent up front, and that's not money that you get to see again. It's not like a deposit, it's just a gift money for your landlord. So that's kind of sucky, but it's not too hard to rent as a foreigner here. It's more difficult if you want to have pets, which is why we had to go for this older house in the first place that would allow them. Okay, and that's everything for today. So thank you everyone for joining me for my house tour. I hope you like what I've done with my limited availability of decorating. But thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.